The purpose of this video is to convey my personal opinion regarding central air conditioning house repair scams. Please use your own common sense to scrutinize my statements and accept or reject my recommendations. There were and will always be morally and ethically questionable practices requiring that the consumer should be extra alert. One can no longer take anything for granted. Scams are perpetrated not only by low-class repair people and handymen, but also by well-established entities with a good reputations such as Enron, Wall Street, hedge fund managers, and so on. It is obvious that it is recommended to avoid putting yourself in a situation that someone can perpetrate a scam on you. For instance, whenever something goes wrong in my house, I examine what the problem is, I collect some data, I analyze the data, then I proceed to fix it. My philosophy through the years has been, as I'm attempting to fix the problem, what is the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that would happen, obviously, is I could screw it up and call a professional. But using this philosophy over the years, I have acquired a tremendous amount of empirical knowledge. I have gained tons of self-satisfaction, and in the process, I save a heck of a lot of money. First of all, it cannot be overemphasized how critically important it is to do preventative maintenance. If you do nothing else, remember to do three things. First of all, in your basement by the blower, there is a filter. Change it as needed and change it often. Then go to your unit or to your conditioning in the yard and clean all the debris and dirt accumulated all around the unit clean. Now the third one is a little bit more technical. In the basement, if you remove the paneling around the furnace, there's a unit inside they call evaporator. That also has fin-like vents that get clogged by dirt and lint if you forget to change your air filters in the basement. In any case, remember, if you must call a repair person for your air conditioning unit, remember that it would be highly unusual for the air conditioning system to have a catastrophic failure that you have to buy an entire new air conditioning system, as most of the air conditioning repair persons will try to convince you. Now let me give you a simplified description how a central air conditioning in your house works. This will demonstrate to you that there are many parts that they can fail. Now notice I said there are many parts that they can fail. I did not say there's a section that they can catastrophically fail to require you to buy an entire new air conditioning system. The air conditioner is a heat pump which has four main parts. It has a unit which is above your blower in the basement and is called the evaporator. It has the condenser, which is the unit which is outside in your yard. Inside the condenser is a pump which is called the compressor, and the refrigerant, which I will be calling in this video coolant, and is usually Freon. The condenser has a main electrical switch. The entire unit is called a condenser, although the condenser is a coil that goes all around. If you look on the side, there's a fin-like vents. In the center of the unit is something called the compressor. On the back of the condenser in the corner is an electrical switch. When the thermostat is activated, that relay closes and applies power to the compressor and to the fan that the motor that turns the fan. Next to the electrical relay is something they call the starter capacitor. The cooling process begins when the compressor starts pumping refrigerant into the condenser coil. As the refrigerant is pumped by the compressor turns what was up to this point gas into hot liquid under pressure. As the fan on the top of the condenser unit exhausts air, it sucks air from the outside and passes through the fin-like vents and attempts to cool that pressurized refrigerant as it flows through the condenser coil. This hot liquid leaves the condenser unit, which is in the yard, and through a pipe is let into the basement. In houses when the furnace and air conditioning are combined, on the top of the blower unit inside the furnace, on the top, there's a unit called the evaporator. The evaporator has fins just like the condenser in the yard. So the liquid comes into the unit down in the basement. It passes through an expansion device. This expansion device, from one end the liquid is hot and at the pressure, and when it exits on the other side, it sprays. It sprays and evaporates. So now when you have a hot liquid that is sprayed and evaporates, it produces coolness. Now this coolness goes into the evaporator, and as the blower from the top forces air through the evaporator, it also dehumidifies this cool air, and this cool air, through appropriate ductworks, is let into the house to cool the house. By now I have described to you a number of the parts involved in a central air conditioning unit. Now, when you have so many parts, it's obvious that some of those parts or a part might fail. When you call an honest, competent air conditioning repair person, you should be able to diagnose the faulty part and change the part and fix your air conditioning. Now, many air conditioning repair persons, unfortunately, the first thing they do when they come into your house, they ask you how old is the air conditioning, and no matter what, how old you tell them it is, they will recommend you buy a new air conditioning system. If you must call an air conditioning repairman, before you call him, do the following. Go by the electrical panel in your basement and check to see if the circuit breakers are okay. Then go by the blower and see if the air filter is clean. Dirty air filter is one of the major causes of many of the calls for furnace not heating and air conditioning not cooling. When the air filter is dirty, the blower motor works harder, you burn more electricity, and that shortens the life of your entire system. They go outside in the yard where the condenser unit is and clean with a water hose, clean any debris or dirt from the fin-like vents on the side of the condenser. That is the second most frequent cause for service calls for air conditioning not cooling the house. Now, this next suggestion, it might sound ridiculous, but also go by your thermostat. Make sure that you have set the thermostat 5 degrees below room temperature. Check the thermostat that is setting on cool, not on heat or off. You'd be surprised how many of us neglect to examine simple stuff. Now, if your air conditioning is not working, there are a couple more things you can do if you like to be a little bit more technical. First of all, in the basement where the evaporator is, if you remove the enclosure, you can clean the evaporator from debris or dirt. Now, the evaporator should be clean if you remember to keep changing the air filter in the basement. In the yard, in the condenser unit, in the back, in the corner, there is something they call the starter capacitor. Starter capacitor is about that big, and that gives an extra charge to the compressor to start and to the motor which turns the fan. And while you're there, I also recommend to change the motor. Now, here's a warning. When the compressor works, everything inside is at a very high pressure. So make sure that when you are testing to find out what the problem is with the air conditioning, do not turn the air conditioning on and off unless 10 or 15 minutes have elapsed to give the compressor a time to recover. You can destroy the compressor if you don't follow this instruction. If the compressor works fine and you put your hand on the top of the fan, you should feel the warm air coming out. On the back corner of the condenser, there are two pipes. The insulated pipe should feel cool to the touch. The uninsulated pipe should feel warm to the touch. Now, this thing I'm going to tell you now is one of the major causes of service calls to the air conditioning repair person. If you went outside to your condenser unit and you put your hand on the top and the air is not too warm, and if the insulated tube was not exactly cool, neither did the uninsulated tube was warm, if you observe any frost in any one of those pipes, as a dead giveaway that your system needs to be recharged with a refrigerant, which is usually Freon. That's 9 out of 10 service calls is you need to recharge your unit with Freon. And here is my personal scam experience that caused me to create this video. In this occasion, my air conditioning was not cool in my house. First, I went through my checklist. I went outside the yard and the air was not warm coming out. And I noticed on one of the pipes was a frost. So I didn't know what that meant, so I went to Google and I researched, the meaning of this frost. And lo and behold, I find out that they said that a frost at any of those pipes indicates a low refrigerant, that you must have somebody recharge your unit. So since I didn't have the equipment, I called an air conditioning repairman. When this guy came, the first thing he asked me was, "Sir, how old is your air conditioner?" I said, "Well, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old." Immediately, without any hesitation, he says, "Well, you got to buy a brand new air conditioner." I said, "Why?" I said, "There must be some problem that you can fix." No, he says, "Sir, that air conditioner is very, very old." So I looked at him and I said, "Look, all I want you to do is recharge my unit with Freon," because I had this knowledge from Google. We're going to run around about 15 minutes. He finally consented to recharge my unit, but he said, "Look, I have to use a device I think they call sniffer. I want to go around to find out where the refrigerant is leaking." Now, Freon is very volatile, so that's a futile exercise. So I told him, I said, "Look, I don't want you to do anything. The only thing I want you to do is to recharge my unit with Freon." You guessed it, 15 more minutes of arguing, the guy recharged my system with Freon, and that was 5 years ago. My air conditioning to this day works very well, thank you. If you really like to entertain yourself, I must tell you, I had the same situation in my rental house. For some unfortunate reason, I called the same guy. The guy came over, and again, I told him, I said, "Look, I want you to recharge my system with Freon." We went through the same discussion, and I told him, I said, "Look, don't you remember me, the argumentative guy that went around and around and around, and you finally did what I asked you? You recharged my unit with Freon. That's the only thing I want you to do." Anyway, he recharged the unit with Freon, and that air conditioning works fine. So, be alert. Go through the checklist before you call a pro. Do your homework. Ask your friends. Ask your neighbor. Go to Google or have somebody else use Google and try to diagnose the problem by yourself. And most of all, try to fix it yourself. You might screw it up and you call a professional. But in so doing, you're going to learn a lot of things and you can start fixing a lot of things that are in your house, get a lot of satisfaction, and save a lot of money. I thank you for watching this video and good luck to you.